welcome to another SuperCoach review with me, JD. You are joining me for the round 22 review. We're into the last week of SuperCoach, which is very exciting to cap off the year in a strong way. Obviously, get those league finals wins. I've got a cash final, which I'll show you as part of this as well on the line this week. In terms of overall, which is what we care about most, I had another okay week, so moved up 300 points into the top 2K now. I think I'm going to just fall short of my goal of kind of ending up top 1K in the recovery run, which look still a good effort from being outside 27K to be in the top 2K. I still in like 20K around the buys, so I've come home very strong. I was hoping for a slightly better score, but I think a couple of the players I didn't have went quite well this week. In the last on Sunday, so I was projected probably to move up maybe another 300-ish spots on top of this, but wasn't to be. Still a good result, but yeah. All right. And then the only other thing, I guess, like captain and vice captain, we'll talk about this week, and we'll also quickly talk about what to do with trades. In the most part, though, this is very personalized based on who you want to go with. So I'm going to talk about a couple of players that you could get rid of just based on matchups. But then if you've got other trade options that you're thinking about, throw them up in the air. We can talk through them. Defenders went really well this week outside of Crisp. If I had Sicily instead of him there, or Brayshaw, that would have been perfect. Could have got the full 100 plus defense line. Look, performances don't matter a ton, so I won't talk about it a heap. A couple of interesting things, I guess. Sinclair is one of the potential trader options for this week because they're up against the Swans, who used Clark again to tag this week. Dacos this time did a good job restricting him. Dawson was great, as usual. If they let him run free, he's insane. One to consider as a primo defender start next year. Himmelberg, a few people got baited into trading him out because he was training forwards again this week. He was training forwards when I say training, he was warming up with the forwards this week. He was warming up with the forwards last week, and Spike still said he's playing behind the ball. Don't get spooked by that stuff. I think he's just behind the ball from here. Doherty was pretty good, actually. Yeah, he had one of his better weeks where he was quite effective with the ball. They moved him up into the midfield, which I thought was quite an interesting move. Same thing we saw with Sicily this week as well. I think Doherty worked a little bit better. Sicily was okay, but he's just had to play uncontested. Just isn't really a contested ball winner. And then Lynch kicked 8 on them, so he had to get moved back after. I think he'd kicked 6 of those to help stop that. But yeah, interesting to see Sam Mitchell playing around with some of these tactical moves in a year that's already over. The Pies game I didn't get to watch much of, so can't talk too much about Crisp. Other than it just looks like a regular Crisp game that we've come to expect over the back half of the year. And then Ambrosio was good, kicked a couple of goals for Essendon in a tough game. So good cover there. In the mids, Laird had his first disappointing score. Is this his first sub-ton since he came back from injury? I think it is, yeah. Yep, so he came back from a 93 over here, and then his next lowest was 105, and then nothing below 114 until today. He had a 97. He's got the showdown last up. Port have restricted him all right in the past. You could see them send a Drew or someone like that to Laird, a little bit like they did with Merritt today, but I wouldn't trade out Laird in fear of a tag. I think there's probably some other targets I mentioned, so Sinclair being one of them, that we can talk through. Or if you've got Bailey Dale, there is a good chance he gets tagged this week by McGuinness. They could try and tag one of the Dogs' midfielders. I mean, we saw Libba get tagged this week. I just don't think that's as effective as getting rid of Dale or Daniel or someone like that in the halfback for the Dogs. Took was very good. He's actually come home quite strong after having a patch where he was pretty quiet. So 128.6 average in the last 5. They have North in the final round. So he is going to be our first vice captain option for the week. Get the V's on him. Oliver was good, was my captain this week. I think many of you would have done hopefully the same thing, go and lay it into Oliver. That netted you a pretty good captain score. I think the only obviously bigger one was Darcy, although it might have been Mills. Mills was one of the ones I didn't have, which, they played North. So he did 128. He's got 2 points more. So if you had Oliver or Mills, you did pretty well. Darcy obviously went bigger, but realistically, no one's putting the C there. And I don't think many would have played around with Dawson with Laird at the same time. Oliver and Petrarca, They were pretty good. I thought Oliver was really good for this game, actually, for the most part. Petrarca still playing a little bit more forward with Brayshaw on the ball. I don't love him as a pick for next year, but I don't think he's worth trading out this week. Melbourne play Brisbane on Friday night, which is a pretty important game, I think, for top four, I want to say, home ground advantage during finals. So I would imagine all the stars will be out there. All right, Merritt got tagged. Not much more to say than that. They got Richmond this week. Richmond don't tag, and they're generally pretty good for midfielders to score on. So back Merritt in for the last round. No edits. Still go no edits. If I cough and I need a drink, no edits. Leave it all in. Neil got tagged. I think there's a really good chance he gets tagged again by Harms this week. With Cripps ending up not being out, which was a whole saga in its own, I don't really want to get into on this. I think like trading out Neil last week was probably the right move if I'd thought about it. The only problem is the most likely person I would have traded Neil to is Steele, who ended up scoring worse than him. It would have been like Steele or Walsh is probably like the two that I like the most. And yeah, I mean, Steele did worse, which is insane to me. So glad I didn't do that. Cripps was pretty good, actually. Yeah, pretty good, especially early in this game. Looked good. Like, I don't know, I guess that helped reinvigorate him. They're against Collingwood that leaked points to mids this week as well, so Cripps is fine. And then McRae, I don't think he's been playing particularly well. His role's not particularly great out on the wing, but they had GWS who likes playing, and they've got Hawks who also give up points to the mid, so I think he's fine at an M8 position. Midfield overall actually looks good. Like, lowest averaging here is 110. I wonder how many of the top mids have missed out on. Like Steele, Mills. Is that it? I'm sure there's a really obvious one that people are screaming at me for. I mean, if this is by average, it's just Mills that I'm missing. Oh, wait. Maybe Brayshaw? But I mean, Brayshaw is 112. Cripps and Merritt are like 110. It's really not that big of a difference. Yeah, it's just no Mills. It's really the only midfielder missing. Steele kind of hasn't been good enough. Is that right? Steele's at a 109. That's so crazy. I mean, he's a really obvious start for next year just with how underpriced he is. Steele's like walk up select unless injuries happen during the preseason. Rucks had another good week this week. As well as Gorn, who I don't have, but he went 129. They're probably the three top rucks for the ruck line at the moment from a SuperCoach perspective. With English having fallen off a little bit, well, a lot bit, I guess you could say. A lot of people, well, I know some people definitely traded out Darcy this week to Gorn, and I mean, trading in a 129, good. Trading in 155 feels bad. It's probably like the right call, but yeah, that sucks. Just unfortunate, really. And I could see Darcy going all right again against GWS this week. So we'll see. Depends on who they've got rucking. Pro should be back, right? Oh, wait, no, he was injured. Maybe not. But he had something like 57 hit-outs and was best on ground. So it really was a huge performance by him. Witts has North. Goldie's usually not terrible to score on. North's pretty easy to score on. So you should see another good score from Witts. Forward line here, Bont has looked a little bit sore with, the Corky. Looks like he's playing a little bit injured, but when they need him to go big, they still put him on the ball and he goes big. So this game was really streaky from Bont. Looks like he's limping over the line. If there was more than, a month to go, he's someone that you'd actually like be weighing up. Could you cash it out of him at his top price for someone else? But yeah. Like, he'll be okay for one more week. Cogs was really good. Like, it's crazy how much better he looks now that Leon Cameron is gone. I know he was, like, injured a little bit, but between giving him captaincy when he probably wasn't ready for it and then moving him as a small forward, like, there was at least 2 years of his prime midfield that has been ruined from them doing that. So, yeah, unfortunate, but looks very good. Freo in the last round, which is a tougher matchup, and they could use Aish to tag him. So keep an eye out for word on that this week, but I think should be fine to hold. Parker was very good. Heaney was very good for me as well. I benched Stringer. I thought 88 was fine. I thought there was a good chance Essendon stunk against Port, and hey, we did. So that loophole worked out fine. And there's really not much to talk about else here, really. Like, yeah, English continues to like underperform a bit. Okay, so vice captain this week. I think it is Miller into Laird is probably the easy one too, I would say. I probably don't trust Cripps enough to captain him against Collingwood. Yeah, there's like really no one else. I think that's it. Like unless you wanted to go Oliver or Neil. No, I don't think go Neil. I think Neil probably gets tagged. All right, so trade out options this week. It's just looking through who is likely to get tagged. I think those are the ones you probably want to move on, unless you've got lots of money, in which case you could trade an underperformer. The thing is, like, say Crisp, right? 430k, he's worth nothing now. For me, I've only got 1k. If I press trade on him, who am I realistically getting him to? Wilkie? I mean, Zach Guthrie? Oh, Lewis Young? These are household names. I mean, Zorko's the only one, but I mean, it's like this is a pretty sideways trade. So, I don't think you're gonna get huge points bumps for this week. Jumping off a popular player that is likely to drop a poor score due to a tag is the way to go. So, I feel like this is like the fifth time I've said, but like Sinclair is probably the top of my list for that. The other ones you could look at as Neil getting tagged by Harms. They tagged him earlier in the year successfully. So Neil, I think, is one that could be traded out this week on the back of him getting tagged. But obviously he's going for a Brownlow, so he's going to be trying everything he can to get involved with that game. Who else did we talk about potentially getting tagged? Like Cogs. I think that's a low chance. You'd probably still rather tag Kelly or someone like that than Cogs, I think. Hawks are running taggers, but none of the dogs options. The problem is there's so many dogs to know who they would throw a tagger to. I think just cursory think, I think it's Dale. But that's like there's a chance they do it, but it's like 100% that Sinclair gets tagged. I think, or like 95%. Essendon been tagging, but no one in Richmond is relevant. West Coast been tagging, but no one in Geelong is really relevant. I mean, like Cam Guthrie on us, I think you're probably fine. I wouldn't worry about it. So Sinclair or Neil or maybe Dale are the three I'd consider trading out from that group. Otherwise, if you don't have any of those for some reason, you could probably just look at who does have a tough matchup and move them on, or who's got an easy matchup and get them in. So, like, if you didn't have Miller for whatever reason, getting him in against North, very good. Dogs against Hawks is pretty nice. Blues against Collingwood's pretty nice. So yeah, I think that's probably just like the broad advice. But if you're asking for specific trades, hit me up below and I'll help you out. For me, I think I'm going to be getting rid of Sinclair and just seeing how much the Dogs have been giving up back half marks. Like we saw it with Himmelberg this week. I'm probably bringing in Sicily for the first time this year. I feel a little bit dirty because it like breaks my Sicily ban. If I had another trade, I could bring in Brody and I'd really feel gross that I've caved. But yeah, I mean, Sicily probably goes behind the ball this week. I don't think they keep him on it. Racks up a ton of the pill with them playing chip to chip around defense. So yeah, I think that'd probably be my last trade for the week. Is we're probably going there. But obviously keep an eye on the news throughout the week and play it by ear. I know many of you probably won't tune into any videos next week. So if you don't, I'm just going to say thanks ahead of time. Thanks for viewing if you've made it through to this part of the year. Appreciate it. It's been a really good year. I'm sure I'll tweet some stuff about like some stats with like how things have gone over the year from like a content creation perspective as well as AFL perspective. The fantasy hat I should have secured. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be top 100 from here, so that's pretty good for first year. And then the only other thing I promised was Cash League. So my Cash League opponent this week got pretty unlucky. He had Taranto, Duncan, and Hobbs. So clearly doesn't watch me, which is nice. But yeah, like he had a donut in his forward line, so that was like a really easy win in the end. And then I'm back against my mate, my real life mate, where yeah, I already beat him once, which is good. And I think through the finals, like I've outscored him every week, apart from maybe this week here, where I was on bye. Although I think I scored well that week too, so I might have just outscored him all the way through to the finals. Oh, only other thing worth mentioning actually is like we've got a lot of top leagues. So we go. Is there a better way to look at this? I'm sure there is. I just can't figure out what it is because I want to see what size the leagues are because I think this is a oh no, it must be this one. Yeah, so number one 10-person league, number one 6-person league. Is this the number two? This is the 18-man league. Want number one for that as well. Been catching. Number 18, like these are a couple of 18. Oh, my cash league's not serious. This is the 12-man, number one 12-man, number 3 6-man as well. So yeah, what's that like? 3 leagues that are number one, 6, 10, 12, and then we're number 2 for 18-man. I haven't got entries in any other league sizes, so that's like pretty big domination. Definitely like that. All right. Thanks for viewing. Ask your questions below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week for the send-off.